there, Evie here with another episode of She is a Leader. And today's episode is going to light your entrepreneurial fire. I recently sat down with Andee Hart, who transformed her candle making side hustle into a thriving global wholesale business, all while reimagining what true wealth and success looks like in her life. What I absolutely love about this conversation is how Andee shares her journey of stepping away from a comfortable six-figure corporate job that she actually enjoyed to pursue her passion full-time. Talk about courage. There's this powerful moment where she says, I was spending all of my day working in a job that I enjoyed, but I'm working for someone else's dream. And so if I put all of my time into pursuing my own dreams, how much more could I grow my own company? Damn, that hit right in the feels. You'll hear Andee completely redefine what wealth means to her, shifting from financial luxury to time freedom and being able to design her life around what truly matters. As she puts it, I retired before I was 40 to be able to do what I'm passionate about now, to make a difference and to use the gifts God gave me. And for all my product-based business owners out there feeling stuck in one location, Andee proves you can literally pick up and move your operation anywhere. She's selling her candles globally while living exactly where she wants to be. Trust me, Andee's journey will inspire you to rethink what's possible in your own business. And with that, I would like to introduce you to Andee Hart, which, by the way, is quite an energetic entrepreneur, sales strategist, mentor, and host of the podcast She Sells Differently. While working as a sales executive for a Fortune 500 company, Andee started a passion project, Heart Design Co. Actually, that was a candle making company. So that is actually one of the reasons why I wanted to have Andee on, because we talk a lot about digital business and all the things, but actually having a product-based business, there's a lot going on, and we're going to be talking a little bit about that today. And what started out as a side hustle for Andee with her candles in a handful of local boutiques quickly blossomed into a wildly successful wholesale business, and that's a whole nother story. And a storefront too. So again, wanted to bring you on, Andee, because you didn't just turn a passion into a business, into a wholesale, which is a whole nother beast right there. But now you are also, first of all, you've grown that with quite some tenacity, your engaging social media presence, your personality that I already had fun and enjoyed earlier, as well as countercultural strategies that enabled you to thrive in competitive markets. Andee's mission is to empower women to overcome sales anxiety and grow their business with integrity, grace, and humility. And anybody that has listened to just one episode of She is a Leader before knows exactly why I brought you on. Wow. Fortune 500, candle, wholesale, now helping women build those businesses, show up, selling without being salesy. And I love your tagline. Let me see if I can remember that right. You bring the product, I'll bring the strategy. Did I remember this right?
Yes. There's a whole lot packed in there, isn't there?
Oh God, yes. Oh my God. So tell me, so I think, again, if I get my numbers right, me and numbers, you were 17 years in corporate sales.
Yes.
And a job you actually enjoyed, right?
I did. I loved it. But sometimes when you just have a passion for something else, you gotta lean into that, right?
So what was kind of like that pivotal moment that made you decide to take that side hustle into a full-time business and then move into wholesale, which is a whole nother animal?
Well, I had actually started moving my candle company into wholesale before I left my corporate job. And I think that was the pivotal moment because I was coming home from my corporate job and literally working on my candle business. And so it was towards the end of 2023. So it hasn't been that long that I have been doing this full time, but it was towards the end of 2023. And I just started dreaming about what it would look like to really just pursue my passion full time because I was spending all of my day working in a job that I enjoyed, but I'm working for someone else's dream, right? And so if I put all of my time into pursuing my own dream, how much more could I grow my company? And I'd already grown it so much just on my, own time, on time outside of working hours. And so that was when I really just started praying about it. And I actually wrote a date down in a journal of mine. And it just became such a big, lofty goal and just one I couldn't ignore anymore. And so, and that was actually the beginning of 2023. Towards the end of 2023 is when I stepped away from corporate life. And so I opened up a storefront, kind of a hybrid candle studio storefront. I have since actually moved to Arkansas to be closer to family. And so I just focus on the wholesale full time. And I also coach, as you mentioned, coach women entrepreneurs because they have seen what I have done with my wholesale candle business. And so what the joy is that I get to use all of the skills that I learned in my corporate sales job and really take that and still pour it into my passion too. And so that really just makes it even more fun as well.
And I love that, where it's like I always feel bad for people. There is room and there is place for a 9 to 5. If you, it's a complete different personality, and I swear more power to you if you are happy in there. And don't get me wrong, there is moments of I just want a 9 to 5. I just want to clock out at 5 o'clock and be done. I have those moments too. But for me, it's like I look back at my story of, oh my God, hospitality, electrician. I've done so many things. And there was always certain problems in the 9 to 5s where I'm like, I'm not, yes, I'm really passionate about it. And suddenly my manager is afraid to lose their job because I'm passionate about what I do, or I overstep the boundaries of my job because, again, I want this to be the best I can be and this can be. And yeah, I feel you on that one. It's just you are working for somebody else's dream rather than taking that passion and taking that commitment into building something that's yours. Don't get me wrong, guys, everybody listening. You also take the responsibility of it. It's not
Yes.
just the fun piece.
Right?
There's a responsibility, especially when you get to a point, potentially, not everybody has to, but when you have team members on there, when you're responsible
Mm-hmm.
for other people's livelihood in your business. And corporate does come with a certain kind of security. There is certain things to it
Yes.
where, oh my God, I'm getting a paycheck and I have my benefits and all kinds of stuff. So I know a lot of entrepreneurs do struggle kind of like with that bridge of, okay, we have the corporate security, but I do want to have my entrepreneurial freedom. And taking that transition from corporate job, yes, let's be honest, nothing is ever 100% safe, but
Mm-hmm.
it's fairly safe. You know the check is coming in, you know the benefits you have. It's a clear box that you can function
Yes.
in. But wanting to have that entrepreneurial freedom, being ready to lean into your passion, Do you have any tips or potentially systems or frameworks or processes to help kind of like structure this transition from the security a corporate job can bring, but wanting to be in that entrepreneurial freedom?
That's a great question. And I will tell you that no corporate job, and I think you just kind of hinted at this, there is no security, true security in a corporate job. And I came to realize that very quickly. Sure, you might have the health insurance and you might have the steady paycheck. But what I realized is that am I going to rely on a company to provide that for myself, or would I rather rely on myself to provide that? And so what I did was I gave myself runway. I was not just jumping full in without having a foundation set. And I did build up some savings as well. I built up some savings, and I will tell you, I did not go from, I was making multi six figures to now I'm not, I was able to buy whatever I wanted to now, I'm not. So I had to redefine what wealth looked like in my life. Whereas wealth used to be defined as financial, I can go to a store, buy whatever I want. Now wealth looks like time freedom. It looks like I was able to move, purchase a house outright and move and be closer to my family and have the time to spend with them. That's priceless to me. Now I know that looks different for everyone.
You're gonna laugh. You're gonna laugh. It's like, I hear you. I hear you so much. I sat down, probably it's been like a year and a half ago now or something. And my question wasn't specifically to wealth. My question was to what is luxury for me? Similar, right? And why it's so funny and why I'm probably getting a chuckle out of you. I'm digital nomading right now, right? Actually, slow nomading, visiting online friends and just being able to go wherever I want to take it. And the funny thing that I'm taking with me is my little bit of luxury, which is a small manual coffee maker, the Italian style, the whole fancy thingy. Because when I ask myself, what is luxury for me? The answer was a original Italian style cappuccino. Every time I go back to Germany, the first thing I do is go into an Italian cafe and order an Italian style cappuccino with the thick milk foam on top and my cocoa powder and my cinnamon. And literally, I can look at the coffee maker right now. It's right there with my specific beans that I like, with my coffee mug, with my cocoa, with my cinnamon, and that goes with me. I don't even care what suitcase and clothing I have with me as long as I have my coffee. So it's like I so connect with what does wealth and luxury look like for us, because we get to build our business around those. Having that possibility to just be like, cool, I'm tired of San Diego, I'm just gonna go and see where I end up. Or being able to say, and specifically with a product-based business, to be able to say, you're not boxed in just because you have a product. I hope everybody listening just heard Andee say this, because there is often that limiting belief of, I have to have a storefront. I have to do certain things because it's a product-based business. Andee is living proof that you do not have to stay in the same location.
Right. And I picked that up and I was able to move that because I sell to boutiques globally. I don't have to stay in North Carolina. I was able to move to Arkansas and I source my materials from all over the world, right? And so that was such a huge defining moment for me because I can work from anywhere. I could not do that in corporate. And so I was able to save up some money. I was able to take some of that savings, have a launch pad, redefine what wealth, what luxury, what success looks like for me, I realized life is too short to be doing that. Even though I wasn't miserable, I wasn't unhappy, but life was too short to be doing that for the next, 20, 30 years until I retire. I want to retire. And when I say retire, I just listened to a podcast this morning while I was getting ready. Retire doesn't mean I'm not working anymore. I retired before I was 40 to be able to do what I'm passionate about now, to be able to make a difference, use the gifts that God has given me to make a difference now, and to use those skills, those sales skills that I honed for 17 years in corporate America. I'm deeply thankful for that, to be able to make a difference now and to sell my beautiful products globally. And so it's a gift, and I don't take it lightly because not many people have the ability or have the bravery, the courage to take the leap either, you know?
Oh my God, yes. Because I think entrepreneurship is standing at a cliff and hoping the parachute is gonna open. That's at least sometimes how it feels. And I think especially for us as women in business, I think a lot of us have the old story of everything needs to be known and everything has to be safe, where I think the magic actually happens when we allow ourselves to trust ourselves that we can handle no matter what life and business throws at us. In my work as a coach, I often run into this, just the things that women often get told as children. Fortunately, I also have experienced a couple of guests that didn't get those limiting beliefs installed. But it's like you're supposed to be seen, not heard, and take care of the family and don't be too loud. And I'm like, okay, we cleaned this up. I can trust myself. I know I can handle everything. And suddenly that magic unfolds. Now, before we dive a little bit more into business strategy and running a product based business and going wholesale, I would love to know what was your most unexpected challenge that you faced helping your clients or maybe yourself get your products into retail stores?
And this is probably a mindset piece, but I've seen it with myself and my clients over and over again. It is getting to that point where you want to throw in the towel, and probably every entrepreneur has faced this, and you're laughing because you know it.
I
You know
can't
it.
help it. It's like, how often do we have it where like everything just doesn't go as
Yes.
planned, and it's like,
Yes.
I'm done, I'm out. Why am I doing this?
And inevitably, I'm going to have some of my clients that are going to listen to this and they're going to be like, "Yes." And inevitably, they will get to a point and they will email me and they'll say, I'm frustrated. I'm not getting the results I want." And you hit that roadblock. And right when you hit that roadblock, that's when you have to push through that brick wall. And that's what you call tenacity. And that is what sets the successful entrepreneurs apart from the ones that are not. That tenacity to push through that brick wall. And if what you're doing, I always use this quote from Einstein, that when you are doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, that is insanity. And it's the same thing, right, with tenacity, because you have to change your approach. You have to change your approach. And this is in sales too. I learned this early on in sales. If you are not getting yeses from your customers, tweak your approach, because sooner or later, you are going to start resonating with your customers and you're going to start hearing yes, yes, yes. So you have to be tenacious. And I remember early on in sending wholesale retailer pitch emails, and I was getting crickets, crickets, crickets. And so I just started tweaking my approach and how I was, the wording, the sales copy that I was sending in my emails. And all of a sudden, I started hearing, "I would love to carry your products in my store." And it made all the difference.
And now the interesting thing is because we humans, right? We cross reference everything. And it's like I'm thinking about your emails and your sales pitches and promoting your product, and it's like me being on the other side of things in a digital space. I'm getting sales pitches every single day for products, for apps, for services, for SaaS, for all kinds of things, literally every single day. And it's so sad to see that literally barely 1% of those are actually speaking to my need, to my customer needs, to my audience needs. And I'm like, if I read quick question one more time, I will freaking send you something through this
Right?
email.
Right?
Oh, I'm like, it is
Or
really,
just following up. Yeah.
it's really not that. I'm like, don't get me wrong. I am not a sales copy queen by no means. But please just speak to the other person on the other end. I'm sorry, I don't care how good your product is. It's not about you when you're popping into my email. Ooh.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh my God, yes. Yes. So, literally, guys, if ladies, everybody, if you are listening to this episode or watching it, first of all, you already got the first level of your sales pitch down. It's not about you. I love you. I love your product. It's not about you. And then head over to Andee to really polish your sales copy. It's really not that difficult. It's not. And you tweak it and you do it. Find yourself somebody that has the frameworks down. I brought you the person that has the frameworks down. You don't have to spend the next 3 years polishing. You have the resources. That's why I'm doing this podcast. That's why I'm bringing people on like Andee, so you ladies get the resources and don't spend the next 3 years just testing something. Now, having said that, I mentioned it earlier, and fortunately, I have it right on my notes actually. You say on your website, you bring the product, I'll bring the plan. Meaning, you ladies in the audience, you bring the product to Andee, and she will bring the plan. Now, Andee, can you walk us through what that plan typically looks like? What's like kind of like the frameworks you've developed to really create those consistent results?
Yes. So, first, I always walk through a foundation of making sure that we have a good product, right? Because I always say, if you don't have a good product, right, then retailers are not gonna want that. And that's the first step. And most of the time, I would say 95% of the time, everyone has a great product because people know a great product when they see one. And so 95% of the time, you have a great product. And then we step into the next foundations, which is having a great website, great professional product photography, those type of things that are just essential for good business. So having that, those are the type of things that I want. Those are just, check the box before I'll even work with you, right? So before you can sign up to work with me, you've got to have those things. And then I work with product makers to really craft a sales strategy that helps them not hustle harder, but helps them lean into exactly what you said, what the client, the retailer is looking for, and helps them find the right retailer. And so I have what I call a simple framework, and that is an acronym because I am all about how do we help people remember what works, right? And so I developed this because exactly what I was saying earlier, I was sending email after email that just was not hitting the mark, and sending mass pitch emails. And listen, that just doesn't work. It doesn't work. And you can do quantity emails, but if it's not hitting the mark and you're not getting orders, then what is it? You're not working smart. And so I developed this framework and I teach teach wholesale brands how to find retailers that fit their niche. And then how do they research and how do they figure out how to identify what matters to that retailer and craft a message that resonates with them. So obviously you're introducing yourself and what value you bring, but how do you craft that in a way that it resonates with them and connects to their need, the retailer's need? So that simple framework, you start with a personal introduction, that's the S. You initiate a connection and a genuine compliment. So it shows that you've done some research on that retailer. And listen, you can do all of this in 10 minutes with a retailer. You don't have to spend 30 minutes, an hour sending one pitch email. And then you make your product's value clear. You make your product's value clear and you tie it back to what it matters to the retailer. And then you present a hook. And what do I mean by a hook? A hook that why that retailer should place an order from you. So give them an incentive. It could be free shipping on their first order, it could be 10% off on their first wholesale order, but some strong incentive and hook to order from you. So that is the P, present a hook. And then the L is lead them to say yes. And so my clients laugh at me because they always say, Andee, we've heard you say it once, we've heard you say it 1,000 times. Make it easy to do business with you. So lead them to say yes. I always don't ever say in your email, let me know if you have questions. Thanks for your time. Right? No, assume the sale. Lead them to say yes. Make it easy for them to do business with you. Put there right in your email, put your line sheet, if you have a line sheet or your catalog, and say, this is how you can place your order. 1, 2, 3. If you want, text me your order or place it on Fair Marketplace, which is a wholesale marketplace. Place it on my website, however you prefer them to do that. Pick up the phone and call me, whatever. Make it easy. Lead them to say yes and assume the sale. Don't say, let me know if you have questions. Say, I look forward to partnering with you. Assume it. Assume it. Be confident in that. And then I hinted at this one earlier, but the E is the easy ordering process.
Oh
So
my
lay that
God.
out for
Yes,
them.
please. Don't make me spend an hour trying to figure it out.
How
Yeah.
many times have you been shopping online? This happens to me all the time. And I'm not a lazy person, but I will be sitting maybe in the evening and I'm shopping online or something,
Yep.
and I get to press the checkout, like the checkout button, and there's not a PayPal option or not a
Apple Pay or
Apple Pay.
anything simple because I'm not going to get up from the
Yes,
couch and go
exactly.
get my credit card. Not happening. I'm sorry.
Exactly. Make it
Mm-mm.
easy. The checkout process has to be easy. And this goes for your direct to consumer website too.
And
It has to be so easy to do
it
business
pretty
with
much
you.
applies for anything. How often I have found an Instagram account that was interesting and I can't freaking figure out the product you just promoted. So user generated content, for example, where it's like, I found the dress and I love the dress so much. I spent half an hour searching, trying to find the dress and I can't because the shop wasn't connected. Don't freaking make it so difficult for people to get in contact with you and pay you. And I only spent a half an hour because I really, really wanted that dress. I still don't have it.
And it's so frustrating. And that's the thing that I tell people is that when you have a beautiful product, don't make it difficult for people to buy. And we get it in our heads, especially as women. We don't want to be pushy. We don't want to be pushy and I'm like, no,
There's
but when we
nothing
have a
pushy
beautiful
about it.
product,
You make my life easy.
right? People are wanting to give you their credit card. Don't make it difficult. right? And so this is a simple, simple framework. And so you can tweak this framework and make it your own for your products, your industry. And this is how you do organic wholesale outreach. Now there's lots of different ways to do outreach, and I go on to, help automate their wholesale framework on their website and different things like that. But this is the start. This is the start of building your wholesale business. And this is how I went from 0 to 120 retailers in less than 3 months, is by this exact framework.
Now, Annie didn't even know the question coming up, but you just led perfectly into this. Now, you have the business of your product and your wholesale. You are also a coach and consultant to product-based businesses. So a lot of my listeners are actually service providers. So more on the coach consultant side of your business. How do you kind of like systemize your knowledge of that whole wholesale process and bringing a product into wholesale to for you to be able to kind of like make it repeatable, just like you did with your product? It's like you were able to grow a product-based business from 0 to 120 locations in 3 months. That's insane. Let's be honest. Holy cannoli. How are you systemizing, frameworking, doing with your knowledge on the coaching and consulting side of things to be able to scale that too? Because I have a feeling you want to live your life. You want to have the freedom of choice to do what you want to do. Now you were able to completely systemize that over there. What are you doing on the coaching consulting side to repeat that?
Yes, that's a great question. I started with a wholesale course. So I just poured all of my knowledge into a course, and I launched it early on with some, early bird founders around. And what I did with that, and I think that this will be helpful for anyone that wants to start a course or even a service that they're going to provide, is I launched it at a big discount compared to what I planned to launch it down the road. And I did that and clearly communicated, this is the first round. I am going to hold your hand through this. You're going to get a big discount. And what I'm asking for in return is your feedback to me of what you need more of, or what is working for you in your business, what doesn't work in this course. And so it was a reciprocal. They're going to get a big discount, but they're also going to give me feedback in return. That was invaluable for me. That was invaluable. And I also told them that they are going to get lifetime access to the course. So any upgrades they will get for free. And to this day, those are my most loyal students. They give me feedback. I will, before I put something out there, I will give them access and they will test it for me behind the scenes. Because anything I build, the reason I'm building it is because I needed it in my own product-based business. And so I want to know it's going to work for other businesses. And so they'll go test it in their business and they'll say, Andee, this needs to be tweaked. This needs to be tweaked. And so I have created now this kind of test pool before I put it out to a big paying audience. And the way I did that was just have a founders pool, and they paid to join that. It was just a lower cost. And so I encourage anyone to do that. If you're launching something that you really want to scale, just start and kind of create that loyal group. And it was just a 4-week program, and I held their hand. We had weekly calls, and they've been amazing. They have stuck with me now for over a year. And so that's really how I've systematized it, and just tested everything that I have put out there now.
And I know some listeners might be like, but why didn't you do it for free? My opinion on that is I would not, even as a pilot program, beta, whatever you want to call it, I would never do it for free because it's an energy exchange. It is a commitment on their side too, to show up and do the work. It doesn't have to be a lot. It doesn't have to be a big chunk of money, but there needs to be some kind of monetary commitment for them to join, to really have that energy exchange and the commitment on their end.
I completely agree. And this wasn't even the first round. It wasn't inexpensive for them to join. I have just since raised, I mean, it's a higher ticket program, right? This is my signature course. And so they, they wanted to join and wanted to be a part of that. And there was an incentive for them to be a part of that early founders round. And also, they have since invested in my other programs, at the normal rate, but they know the quality that I bring to the table. And so they've also provided amazing testimonials and things like that. And so when you create that loyal base that's willing to give you feedback, it really just helps build such a solid foundation for your business and systematize that with such good feedback that I'm glad that I looking back, it's such a great question for me to reflect on because I don't even think I realized how well I did that looking back. But that was something great that I did. Didn't do everything great, but that was something that I did well. So.
Yeah, I'm blessed with some of my OGs too, where I have the similar experience where it's like I know exactly who to reach out to from my community where I'm like,
Yes.
oh yeah, they're gonna give it to me. Now, Andy, let
Absolutely.
me ask you, if somebody is listening that has a product that they've been selling directly to consumers, but they want to break into wholesale and do that step up, what are kind of like the steps they should take? Hi, let's hold them accountable tomorrow morning.
Oh, great question. Yes. So I would say the very first step that they should take, I have a brand new, I call it a secret podcast that I just launched last week. It's called the Fair Growth Formula. I'll send you the link to it. It's completely free to get access to. But if you're not familiar with Fair, it is a wholesale marketplace. It really came on popularity during the pandemic because a lot of the trade shows like Atlanta and Dallas, where you couldn't go to those in person. And so, Fair, I am teaching how to get started wholesaling on Fair. And I teach just how to get visible and how to get started. With your brand and get your shop set up and running on Fair. Now, Fair is not the only way to grow wholesale, but that is a great place to get started. And so I would recommend just binging that podcast as you're driving or folding your laundry tomorrow. That is what I would do tomorrow to get started if you're interested in wholesaling. So I'll send you the link to that completely free to grab. And that's what I would do.
And that means, ladies, you do not have an excuse because it's really that simple. Now, looking ahead, how do you see like that wholesale landscape evolving? With I'm like especially looking at the U.S. right now with all of the changes, with the tariffs coming, the wholesale everything always changes, no matter what's happening outside of us. So it's to be expected that the wholesale landscape is going to be evolving and changing. How are you adapting your strategies to really help your clients stay ahead of these changes?
Yes. So, one thing, I mean, none of us really know what's going to happen long term in the future, especially with tariffs. Anyone that says they know, they don't. They don't. And so I see all of these different trainings on, tariffs and all of this stuff. No one really knows. And so the thing that I will tell you is to not put all of your eggs in one basket. And what I mean by that is from a supplier basket. I do buy a lot of my, the beauty of wholesale is economies of scale, meaning that I can buy like my tins. I'll show you one of my candle tins. I buy these in bulk, thousands at a time from China, you know? Um, so that's going to be a problem now, right? And so I'm having to look elsewhere for the time being. And there are other countries that I can buy from. But guess what? Every other candle maker is in the same boat that I'm in. And so I can choose from a mindset to either be like, oh, this is the worst thing ever, or I can be in problem solving mode and let's figure out what I'm going to do and look for best pricing and negotiate with my suppliers. Because guess what? My suppliers in China, they're feeling the heat too, right? And so, um, it we don't know what long term is going to look like, but your suppliers are willing to negotiate. So buckle in. It is going to be like we're all in this for the long haul. There are plenty of suppliers out there. I get like my dough bowl candles, I get those from Mexico. And so, yeah, it is. I will just say that don't put all of your eggs in one supplier basket. Always be willing to diversify because you never know what the political and the economical, climate is going to look like. And so this is something that I learned because when I was in corporate, I worked for a Chinese company, right? And so we were always facing this and they were always ready to be able to pivot. And that is something that I always learned. And so, no matter what is happening, you always want to be able to have a plan B and to be able to turn and to move forward and not to be able to grumble and complain. I don't care what your political beliefs are. I'm not here to grumble and complain. I'm here to solve problems and to move forward. Right?
It is what it is, and we just need to be flexible and adjusting
Yes.
accordingly. I'm like, it could be as simple as we had we had issues during COVID too, where we couldn't get
Yes.
specific things, and we just need to be able to pivot no matter what. Now it's tariffs, next time it's delivery issues again. It's something. It's just life. The only constant is that there never is a constant. So
Right.
we just got to pivot. And with that, ladies, you get to pivot on go find Andee. So Andee, do me a favor, tell my audience, where can they find you? Where can they connect with you?
Yes. So my website is andeehart.com. Now, my name is spelled a little different. It's ANDEEHART, andeehart.com. And then you can also find me on Instagram. I have just kind of recently started being a lot more active on Instagram. So it's just Andee Hart on Instagram. And of course, my podcast as well. And I'll send you the link to the secret podcast too. My podcast is She Sells Differently. Then I'll send you the link to the secret podcast for you as well.
And as you know, you will find all of Andee's links right in the description, easy for you to click on. Andee, I am so happy we were able to make this happen. Thanks so much for coming on today and sharing all of your knowledge with my audience.
Thanks so much for having me. It was a blessing.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.